Hey everyone.
Good morning, or afternoon, or evening,
whenever you're watching.
You're watching, yeah.
It's morning for us right now.
Breakfast.
Yes, breakfast. He's eating breakfast. I try to eat breakfast, and I'm feeling a little nauseous now, so I got about 2 spoons worth before I get kind of sick. So I'm gonna hold off on eating, but we wanted to kind of come in and give you guys some updates. So we'll start off with some good news. We'll start with good news and end with good news.
Yeah, it's
good
all
news,
good today.
Yeah, good news is we did get the all clear to start IVF.
Oh.
The green light. Woo-woo, yay.
Yep.
With that being said, it did come with like a list of concerns and risks and things we need to be mindful of. However, I want to give a disclaimer that this video is gonna be more informational, but as far as me and John stand, as far as me and him stand, we're staying faithful through this process, and we're praying and believing that we're not going to have to deal with half of the things that we're gonna share with you guys today. So in no way are we being negative, we're just kind of being very informational. And not only that, but we want all the prayer warriors out there to know exactly how to target their prayers when it comes to this pregnancy. So.
And from what I'm understanding, pregnancy is already like a traumatic experience for the female body. Just normal pregnancy, right?
Yeah.
Normal childbirth and all that. But with some of the pre-existing health conditions that my wife has been battling through and learning how to live with the last few years, it's going to definitely take her to a higher risk level and everything.
Yeah.
So, kind of with that being said, just to piggyback off of what she shared, we just shared some information just for y'all to help us pray, help us to continue to have faith and believe. We stay super positive. Like we're not depressed or anything about it.
Right. And right now, right now I may look a little bit down, but that's literally because I'm nauseous. Which kind of ties into some of the concerns that the doctors have moving into the actively being pregnant. So we were advised by our IVF doctor to manage and do our entire pregnancy through the high-risk pregnancy department at Scott & White. Essentially what that means is sometimes you don't really see them unless you need to type thing. So unless your pregnancy becomes high risk down the line, then you kind of partner up with them to make sure that you're being monitored and that they're keeping a closer eye on you and stuff like that. For me and for a lot of other women in situations, we're gonna do this pregnancy from jump with their support and their resources. So we had an appointment with them the other day, and they kind of got all in my business as far as this medical history. I'm talking about way back when I was in the military. Obviously family history as far as medical stuff, his family history.
Right.
And so they have a very, very in-depth understanding of all medical stuff I've dealt with, not just in the last 3 years. And then also things that we should be mindful of in regards to like his history, his family history, and my family history, and putting it together and what that means for this pregnancy. So
it was kind of scary.
So I'm gonna let's just keep it 100. Like we're choosing to stay faithful,
right.
But initially that appointment did give me a lot of anxiety and scared me a little bit. I wouldn't be being honest if I didn't like really say that I had those moments, and I may still have moments where I kind of go back and forth with that because that's reality and I'm human. But so in particular, we'll just start with pseudotumor. And because I'm horrible with medical terms, terminology, and kind of explaining these things properly, I will be adding little images that kind of explain each of these things a little bit more in depth for those who are interested. So starting off with pseudotumor, just to remind you guys, in 2018 I was diagnosed with Chiari malformation type 1, pseudotumor, also known as IIH, and papilledema. Papilledema was a result of the pseudotumor, and Chiari malformation is something that could have been there since I was born, and typically people can live with it and never even know it's there. It doesn't really bother them. There's 3 different variants of Chiari malformation. I have the mildest version of it.
The lowest one, right?
Yeah, so literally I could have lived my whole life not knowing I had this thing and been completely fine. So the ironic part about it is that Chiari malformation only becomes a concern when I'm subjected to certain procedures that involve any type of suction from my brain. So hypothetically, not hypothetically, but one of the procedures that I've had done is a lumbar puncture to pull out all the excess fluid from my brain. And again, I'm sorry for all the medical folks we know if I'm not saying this stuff right. But essentially my brain was producing too much intracranial fluid. And the medication wasn't working as far as getting that to stop producing so much or helping it to drain faster than it was producing it. And so they had to do a lumbar puncture to measure how much I was creating and to relieve some of the pressure. And when they do the lumbar puncture, it's like a suction type of procedure. And so with Chiari malformation, part of my brain kind of hangs a little lower than other people. So it just puts me at higher risk for hemorrhaging, but that's only a concern when I'm having a procedure like a lumbar puncture done. So ironically enough, one of my diagnoses requires a procedure that can affect my other diagnosis. Otherwise, I could have lived my whole life without ever even thinking about that one.
Right.
So that's a little bit about both of those. So as far as the risk and how that's going to affect my pregnancy, one of the things that triggers pseudotumor and its symptoms is weight gain and stress. So obviously with pregnancy, I'm going to gain weight. Because I lost so much weight from bypass surgery, more than what they anticipated, they're hoping that kind of gives me a little bit of wiggle room to gain the weight from the pregnancy and really truly not experience anything. However, the doctors did say that I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting better as far as my symptoms improving with pseudotumor, staying exactly the same or getting completely worse. And they've actually dealt with other pregnant ladies who have had the same.
All 3 of them?
No, she's had 3 pregnancies.
I thought you were saying, but one person's gotten worse, one person has gotten better.
Well, I don't remember her saying that, but she did say she worked with the lady who had 3 pregnancies. She had pseudotumor as well, and each time her pseudotumor got worse, right. But they were still able to get her and the baby to a healthy delivery and a successful birth and all that good stuff. And I don't know if this lady had bypassed before either, or if she was still struggling with her weight. Weight in general is going to be a trigger for pseudotumor. So the heavier I am, the worse the symptoms can be. And again, I'll put a picture here that kind of describes what the symptoms look like and what those are. So that's scary because if I look back at the first year when I was diagnosed, I was like a zombie. And so I don't want to get worse because the medication for pseudotumor is not highly recommended to take during pregnancy. So that means I'll be subject to having more lumbar punctures which will relieve the pressure from my brain. So that's pseudotumor. Then we have the bypass risk because I'm still dealing with a lot of nausea. Hence today, just from eating, I still have a lot of sensitivities with a lot of food, and I'm nauseous about 70 to 80% of the time when I eat. They're worried and concerned that my first trimester is really going to take it out of me and potentially put me in a situation where I may have to use a feeding tube to make sure that I'm being nutrition and that the baby is having enough nutrition. And we're praying against that, and we're praying that that's not the case, but that's a very possible reality. Outside of those 2 things, pseudotumor getting worse and the feeding tube, it was the labor situation. It may be a high risk for me to be able to push, so they may have to do a spinal block.
Yeah, so basically, of course, if a woman's pushing, you putting all of that pressure on your
it could build my intracranial pressure.
Right, and the fluid is so when I understood the malformation, the fluid building up, if you were to push, that's going to cause an extreme amount of pressure and pain in the rest of your body, of course. And so if you're not able to push, they have some anesthetic they're able to
It's not that whether or not I can push. I don't think they're going to recommend me to push because the intracranial pressure can cause my papilledema to get worse.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And that papilledema is basically my optic nerve. And if that gets damaged or irritable or swollen too much, I could end up blind. So she was talking about getting me cleared for a spinal block. Not that we will need it, but if it comes to that I'm already cleared to have that type of anesthetic.
Where she won't actually push the baby out, but they'll be able to like use the forceps to be able to pull the baby out. But they work with her natural contractions in order for her body to help assist with the baby.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't want that either.
Yeah, and so it's a number of different scenarios or whatever. We're definitely believing and praying that God help us through whatever type of scenario we're faced with. But I mean, we serve a tremendously big, incredible, awesome, powerful, mighty God. You know, nothing is impossible, and I don't think that He would allow us to experience all of these things to not take us through it, you know. So that's just where our faith is sitting at, and we're just trusting and believing God that He's going to take Aslan to the very best scenario. And even if she were to experience some of the worst parts of it, God's got her as well. He's going to give her the strength and give me the wisdom to be able to support her throughout that process. You know?
We're still excited, okay? Literally, I'm just not feeling my best today, but we're genuinely excited. We've had time to sit on this information, pray on this information. So we're really optimistic, really excited, and we look forward to beginning of this journey. And we just finished John's office, so hopefully we can shoot a video soon doing the nursery, which is coming.
That's coming up next. So. Y'all prayer warriors, the people who are definitely staying in tune with our journey. Thank you for the messages. Thank you for the people who've reached out. Thank you for the people who have said that they have been inspired by the journey and us just kind of sharing. We're not the first couple to go through these things, nor will we be the last couple probably, but if we can share a little bit of our journey that can help somebody else, that's always the goal. So we love you. Definitely thank you for tuning in and watching, and continue to pray for us.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Oh, one last thing. As they were doing all of the different history tests, they did a test for me and they found out that I have a history of...
Instant joke. Here we go.
No, I don't even want to do it anymore.
You shouldn't do it anymore.
Oh, you just ruined it.
Go ahead.
No. She just ruined it.
They want to know the joke.
Nope. Bye.